Welcome to the Sales Mindset Podcast, where we talk about everything sales and or the right mindset for success. Here with my co-host Brian, who's going to pose me the next question.
Yes. So today we're going to be talking about persistence versus adaptability. So balancing persistence and adaptability, how can you strike the right equilibrium between pursuing a lead diligently versus like letting it go and not pissing him off?
Right. So the first thought I had about this wasn't about pissing someone off, but it was about wasting your own time.
Okay.
And I think that's a good way of starting, because you have to recognize when you are wasting your own time. So this goes into not actually a sales situation. Well, sales in respect to what I did with my class. I had this one student. Let me take a step back. For my class, most of the students, not most of the students. Let me take a step back. For my class, the students, and Brian was one of those at one point in time, will work with a nonprofit to get sponsorships. And so they're selling sponsorships, basically. And this one student, bless his soul, great guy, heart of gold, to be quite honest. And I think that was part of the problem. He was working with this one business that kept putting him off. So unfortunately in sales, just because someone says that they're in doesn't mean they're actually in.
Yeah.
Until the check has cleared the bank,
Yeah.
you have not closed that sale, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Until there's a confirmed check in the bank that is cleared, I don't know how long that takes these days, probably 72 hours, I'm not sure, then the sale has not occurred. And I've learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
Lost several $1,000s as a result. Anyway, so the student got the sponsorship for the nonprofit, and the person said, yeah, come back next week. I'll have my checkbook with me. Like, okay. This is a student's perspective. Next week, came back. Hey, I'm here for that. Oh, I don't have my checkbook with me. So after I think about 4 weeks of this, which is interminable, is a long time in a college semester.
Yeah.
He eventually comes to me for some feedback. It's like, I've been dealing with this one business, and they don't have their checkbook with them. And I had to stop, and I'm like, they have an establishment. They have a retail establishment.
Yeah.
And they don't have their checkbook with them. It's like, yeah. And I'm like, try and buy that again.
Yeah.
Why would they not
do.
have their checks with them at their place of business?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, right? And so it was a situation, and unfortunately in sales, this is going to happen to you, where someone just completely screws with you. And that's what was happening to him. And at some point in time, you have to look at your conversations with a prospect and realize, sorry, the dog is cute. You have to look at your situations with your prospect and realize that they're not actually interested. Now, sometimes it's that they just don't want to say no.
Yeah.
They want to be nice. They're feeling bad, or they're like, oh. So they actually string the person along, and they actually do more damage.
Yeah. It's even more problematic.
Yeah, exactly. But there are real a-holes out there that will basically string a salesperson on for the sake of stringing a salesperson on. And that's what was happening to this unfortunate student. So that's what I would say is that measure of persistence slipping over into annoyance. You know, I think it was presented a little bit more in terms of agility, or adaptability, but it's a matter of reading the room and reading the situation. Some of it will come with experience. You know, it's going to take a while until you realize, oh, I've been in this situation before, and you have to put it out to the prospect. Like, look, I don't want to waste our time, or I don't want to waste your time, probably even better. So you're making it about the prospect. You are about yourself. That's the motivation for the phrase that you're using. But in the prospect's mind, you're like, oh, this person's actually trying to help me here. Right? And just be like, look, I don't want to waste your time. If you're not interested, just let me know and move on from there.
Give them the opportunity to finally shut it down.
Exactly. There's one philosophy where it's like after 3 outreaches, it's done, right? And all I have to say is like, I'm here if you're interested in making this purchase. but
3's a
I
little
don't
low.
want to. I don't want to spam your email. I don't want to be that guy, basically.
Yeah.
And that actually comes from a training that I
Mhm.
went to. That was I was speaking training that I had gone to, and I thought it was the way they handled it was pretty good. You would think 3 is low, but at the same time, what you want to communicate is that you're not thirsty.
Yeah,
Obviously,
yeah.
you want to be hungry for business, but thirsty. And of course, the distinction might be lost on some of our listeners or viewers, but the idea is that you'll do anything for business. If you'll do anything for business, are you really worth doing business with?
Yeah.
So when you cut it short sooner, it's like, look, I've got better people to deal with. I've got people who actually want to work with me. Go F yourself if you're right.
I hear that, actually.
Yeah.
That's actually an interesting, because I always placed it at 5, where I made my 5th contact the one where I'd say, hey, I don't want to waste your time.
Yeah.
Like, no worries. If you're interested, please give me a call.
I think 5's within the reason.
Yeah, but
it is within reason on this.
Yeah. I see 3 being solid too. Is that I didn't really think about the idea of cutting it off earlier for your own respect, because that builds like a certain wall of respect. And I think about that. Going back to your story, out of curiosity, obviously you don't say it on the podcast, but do you remember the name of this company?
No, actually, I don't.
Oh, that's such a shame, because I wish I knew. I had a similar situation in town as well, where it's like the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And this was in my freshman year of college, actually, when I was selling ad space for the newspaper. And I went into this place. It was a auto shop, and every time, do you think that's too much? No.
No, I think it might be the same.
Oh, it might be the same place. No, it'd be lovely. It'd be lovely. Won't drop any names or anything like that. But the guy, he had a very scary name, a very mobster-esque name, which I always found really funny.
Be careful, I'm Italian.
Yeah, well, not Italian mobster. You know. The worst types. And I went in there, it actually wasn't me at first. I had taken over this role as like the sales supervisor. So I would go out with the other reps and go on their territory with them and help them out with things that might be more challenging, or help coach and whatnot. And she was having a lot of trouble picking up a check from this guy who already bought the ad. Like, the ad already ran. It was just, he now had to settle his account. Okay. Because he had like a running ad with us every month or something. And he hadn't paid for like 2 months. So she kept going back and was like, hello, like, can I ask about to drop today? Hello, can I get the check from you, like, for 2 months deep?
We can bleep him.
Yeah. And he goes, oh, I don't have my checkbook with me. It was the exact same thing. And it happened for like 3-4 weeks. So I went with her the one time, and they said the same thing. I let her run it, and they said the same thing. So we ended up leaving. And I'm like, all right, next week, let's come back and like, we'll push again, but can I take the lead on it? And we went in, and I was like, hey, we're trying to get in touch with the owner here. Is he here? And he's like, oh, he's in the background. I think he's busy. It's like, okay, cool. Like, is it in that office right there? Like, think I could just walk and knock on the door? He's like, I guess, yeah. And knocked on the door, and I went, I'm like, hey, it's good to see you, man. Like, so I'm Brian from the Florida Alligator. Can we talk for a second? And he was like, yeah, I'm kind of busy right now. I'm like, yeah, no problem. I just want to get this payment from you. Like, do you currently have your check? I was like, no, I don't have it on me. It's like, all right, cool. What is the exact date that you can have the checkbook in your office? And we had this like standoff for a minute. That was really scary, because I really thought I was talking to a Russian mobster at the time. I really built it up in my mind. It was the scariest thing in the world. He still didn't pay us that day, but he did pay us the following week. We set a day and we came back and got it. But
I wonder if there's a little bit of like respect for the assertiveness.
I hope so, or otherwise he didn't want me to come back till I get my license plate and information and whatnot to track me down later. But they do. I wonder if it was the same. I wonder if it was the same place. The guy, the exact same phrasing, where I don't have my checkbook, yada yada yada, and it was about the persistence in this case, but for something that was already closed.
Yeah, but I like the way you handled that. Right, you were very specific. You're like, okay, I will come back on this. That's a very good way of handling a lot of situation for someone is pushing you off. It's like, here's the exact date.
Yeah.
Here's the exact time. This doesn't work for you. Let me know.
Yeah.
And if it works with my calendar, I'll do that.
Yeah. And you got to make it clear that you're going to be there at that date and time. Mm-hmm. And if they're not there, you need to make it clear to them the next time that you're going to be there. Like, set up your schedule. You need to telegraph when you're going to be there so they cannot forget about you.
Right. And eventually it comes down to a cost-benefit analysis. Do I really want to be annoyed by this dude?
Yeah.
Who is assertive, again, and I think that may have worked in your favor. The other thing is that this really underscores the fact that unless that check is in your hand, you have not closed.
Yeah.
Now, it sounds like they were an established client that decided to stop paying, which is a different story.
For the second or third time, but whatever.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we had a tenuous relationship.
Yeah, so that's where, for me, it's a matter of, I go back to the very first time that I made, it was one of my larger first sales, but it wasn't a sale because I didn't actually get a check. It was like, I'll do this for you. Great. When it's delivered, it was a website. I'll do the site for you. Great. When it's delivered, I'll pay you this.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I did the site for them.
Uh-huh.
And great. Bye.
Oh, no. Did he acknowledge it, that he's not going to pay you?
Yeah. Yeah. They're like, well, no. Wow. It's like 20 years ago at this point. I think they just ghosted me. They just ghosted me. They used it. They used the site.
Yeah.
Great site.
Did you end up getting money or anything from them? Oh, man.
Absolutely nothing.
That's brutal.
Absolutely nothing. And I didn't have the resources because it was the very early days of my business.
Yeah.
To pursue. But I learned from that point, grab a deposit and don't give the final product until that final. In the case of a new customer, established customers, I will start to extend the credit to, if I know that they're going to be good.
Yeah. And you want to be able to do that, like build a place of respect and a good relationship.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of, here's your net 30 days, here's your net 60 days, but I know you're good for this. But of course, if the first time something doesn't go right, they're going to be back into that deposit situation.
Yeah. Those situations are the worst. I hate trying to like bark up a tree that is refusing to cooperate. Making communication. That was one of my favorite things as in property management, where you had another company that didn't want to do something that you needed them to do, like either talking to a vendor. It was one of the worst things with being in the property management side of things, whether it be dealing with, maybe like vendors or government bureaucracy and whatnot, contacting people for either payment or for them to process paperwork or to get something filed. It didn't matter what it was. Some people are lovely, but some people just don't want to do their job at the rate that you need them to. They have other priorities. And there's an instance where we worked with another brokerage where we needed to get some materials for another unit, and we were having some complications with it. So I was trying to communicate with their head of marketing because that was what it was related to. And I probably went 2 weeks calling them every single day, trying to get in touch with them, and it didn't work. So eventually what it came down to is I would call in the morning, in the afternoon, every weekday, and I knew that I was going to get their voicemail. It was like a specific person's voicemail box. I knew the person's name, the receptionist. Yeah. And they would answer like, "Hey Tim, it's Brian. Can you put me through to person's inbox, please?" Like, "Yeah, sure." And I would say the exact same message every single time, like, "Hey, it's Brian from Alligator Realty. I'm trying to get in touch with you, this thing." And going through their voicemail box, I'm sure they got like 9. "Hey, this is Brian. Hey, this is Brian. Hey, this is Brian." We got it eventually. Yeah. And I'm sure that I was a dick, but after like 2 weeks of waiting for something to get through, and something that you absolutely needed and can't walk away from, that's when you have to balance the adaptability versus persistence.
So I would have walked into the office.
Yeah, we did that too, but they're not there.
Or tried to find. I mean, I'll like I said in one of the, I don't know if it was this, no, it was this podcast. I'm Italian. I'll leverage some of that. And, And if they happen to be a local person, I'll walk in and be like, "Okay, I'll sit here until you actually show up." I'll figure out your schedule if I need to. It depends on how much money. Again, benefit analysis on this.
How much time you're going to take out of your day to go after it. Yeah. It's an important piece of the persistence versus adaptability debate that we've initially started.
Of course, this is pursuing deadbeat customers, which is not exactly where we were going with this, but it's still an issue in sales, and especially if your commission is based not on commitments and deliveries, but on when the check actually comes into the organization and actually gets through. I don't think I've ever dealt with a customer whose check has not cleared. But, that's obviously something that you never know if you're going to deal with.
Mm-hmm. I haven't either. That's an interesting step of the process, like you said. Like if the check doesn't clear, it's not closed. And I agree, but I can't imagine getting all the way through, a signed contract or some sort of signed agreement and shaking hands at the deal and then it not going through. What would you do in a situation like that? Kind of adapt.
Yeah. Bad checks. I think a lot of people are concerned about their reputation these days. And that might be why something like that might not happen quite as frequently. And I could be wrong. It could still happen. Post in the comments on YouTube if that does happen to you. Let me know. I'm not sure. Yeah. So there we go. Persistence and adaptability when it comes to dealing with certain situations. There's a fine line. And where it happens to be is going to depend on you. It's going to depend on your customers. Sometimes you'll get it right. Sometimes you will get it wrong. But either way, that's just one of the fun aspects of dealing with the right mindset. You yourself can have the resilience to bounce back from having to deal with that. Brian, any final thoughts?
I don't think so. I think that was a pretty good wrap up.
Okay, great. We'll talk to you next time. Take care.